They set me up with a pregnant woman as a joke. Then she whispered, I shouldn't have come. I never believed one bad joke could change the course of my life. When my coworkers convinced me to join a blind date charity dinner, they laughed a little too hard as they handed me the table number. I thought they were just teasing me because I'd been single for years. But the moment I sat down and saw the woman waiting for me, one hand resting protectively over her very pregnant belly, I understood I had been set up to be the punchline. Then she looked into my eyes, forced a trembling smile, and quietly whispered, I'm Ethan, I said carefully. She swallowed before answering. Lily. She couldn't have been older than 28. Her brown hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, and exhaustion showed beneath her eyes. She looked like someone who hadn't truly slept in weeks. I'm sorry, she said, staring at the tablecloth instead of me. Your friends probably didn't tell you. They told me almost nothing. A sad smile crossed her face. Then they wanted to embarrass you. I glanced across the room. 3 coworkers were pretending not to watch us, while clearly watching every second. I understood everything. They thought setting the quiet single guy up with a pregnant stranger would be hilarious. Maybe they expected me to walk away. Maybe they wanted everyone to laugh. Instead, I smiled. Well, I said, picking up the menu, since we're both already here, we might as well order dessert first. For the first time, Lily laughed. It wasn't loud, but it was real. The tension eased just enough for us to breathe. I'm sorry you got dragged into this, she said. I'm sorry you did too. She looked surprised. You don't think this is weird? I think whoever planned this is weird. Another tiny laugh. Then silence settled between us. Not uncomfortable, just uncertain. Finally I asked, why did you say you shouldn't have come? She hesitated. My sister signed me up. You didn't want to date? I don't. Then why come? She rubbed her forehead. Because everyone keeps telling me I need to move on. Move on from what? Her eyes filled with tears. The baby's father died. I froze. 3 simple words. Everything changed. I'm sorry. He was killed 8 months ago. I'm so sorry. He never got to know we're having a daughter. She looked away before the tears escaped. I didn't know what to say. Sometimes there are no perfect words, so I didn't search for any. Instead, I quietly slid the basket of warm bread toward her. She smiled through wet eyes. My doctor says I cry too much. I think your doctor forgot to mention life is hard. She laughed again, this time longer. Dinner became something unexpected. We talked about books, favorite movies, childhood memories, terrible cooking disasters. She admitted she'd burned instant noodles. I confessed I'd once started a small kitchen fire making grilled cheese. By dessert, it no longer felt like 2 strangers forced together. It felt like 2 lonely people accidentally finding someone willing to listen. When the check arrived, she reached for her purse. I've got it. No, we split. I invited myself to your joke. I don't care. She sighed. You're stubborn. I've been told. Outside the evening air was cool. She stood beside the parking lot, looking nervous. I should go. Can I walk you to your car? She hesitated before nodding. Halfway there she suddenly stopped. I lied. I blinked. What about? My sister didn't sign me up. Oh, I signed myself up. I waited. I wanted to prove everyone wrong. About what? That no decent man would ever look at me again. My chest tightened. People actually said that? They didn't have to. She looked down at her stomach. They just stopped calling, stopped inviting, stopped asking how I was doing. Apparently pregnant widows make people uncomfortable. I didn't know those people, but I already disliked them. What I saw tonight. She frowned. What? A woman who laughed at my terrible jokes. She smiled. A woman who somehow burned instant noodles. She laughed. And someone who's trying to raise a little girl, despite losing the person she loved. Her eyes shimmered. I didn't notice anything else. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she whispered, "Thank you." That should have been the end. One dinner. One strange night. But life had other plans. 3 days later I received a message. Unknown number. "It's Lily. I hope this isn't strange." I smiled before opening it. She'd sent a picture. A tiny pair of pink baby socks. Caption: "I can't decide if these are too small." I replied, "I have absolutely no qualifications for sock advice." 3 dots appeared. Then, "I just wanted someone to ask." From that day, we texted almost every evening. Nothing romantic. Just life. Doctor appointments. Work frustrations. Baby names she couldn't choose between. Pictures of sunsets. Memes. One night she confessed she still talked to her late fiancé. "I know he's gone," she wrote, "but sometimes I still tell him about my day." I answered honestly, "I don't think love disappears just because someone does." She didn't respond for several minutes. Then, "No one's ever said that to me." Weeks passed. One Saturday she invited me to help build the baby's crib. "I'm warning you," I said. "I've lost fights against furniture before. I bought extra screws." That's either encouraging or terrifying. Building that crib took nearly 6 hours. The instruction manual seemed written by someone who hated humanity. At one point, we accidentally attached the front panel upside down. Lily laughed so hard she nearly cried. "You did that on purpose." "I absolutely did not." "You looked confident." I was confidently wrong. By evening the crib finally stood complete. Slightly crooked, but standing. "No," I said. "It's functional." She smiled. "So are most families." That sentence stayed with me, because somehow, without either of us noticing, we'd started becoming one. Not through romance, not through promises, through ordinary moments. Then came the phone call. At 2:30 in the morning. "Ethan." Her voice shook. "I think it's time." I grabbed my keys before she even finished speaking. The hospital lights felt painfully bright. She squeezed my hand during every contraction. "I'm sorry." "What are you apologizing for?" "I'm crushing your fingers." "They'll recover." "You don't know that." "I'll risk it." After 14 exhausting hours, a tiny cry filled the room. The most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. Lily burst into tears. So small. The nurse placed the baby in her arms. Lily looked at me. "Meet Emma." Emma opened sleepy little eyes, wrapped her tiny fingers around one of mine. I was the one crying now. The months that followed weren't easy. Babies rarely sleep. Neither did we. Some nights I'd arrive after work just to rock Emma for an hour, so Lily could shower. Other nights I'd bring dinner because she'd forgotten to eat. We became a team. Not because anyone expected us to, because we wanted to help each other survive. People started assuming we were married. We'd laugh and correct them. At first. Then eventually, we stopped correcting everyone. One afternoon Emma took her first steps, straight toward me. 3 tiny wobbling steps. Then she fell into my arms giggling. Lily covered her mouth. "I missed it." "You didn't." "I was getting her bottle." "You were still here." She wiped away tears. I thought her dad would never see moments like this. I looked at Emma, then back at Lily. He'd just be happy someone loves her. She stared at me. Longer than usual. That night, after Emma fell asleep, we sat on the porch, watching fireflies. "I've been afraid," Lily admitted. "Of what?" "If I move forward, it means leaving him behind." I shook my head. "No." She looked at me. "Love isn't a room with only one chair." A tear rolled down her cheek. You don't replace people. You carry them. She leaned against my shoulder. For the first time, neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. 6 months later, I found an old photo album while helping her organize boxes. There were pictures of her and her fiancé laughing on a beach, holding hands, dreaming about a future neither of them got. I expected sadness. Instead, I felt grateful. Because he had loved her first. Because Emma existed. Because without that chapter, mine would never have begun. Later that evening, Lily handed me a small envelope. Inside was the ticket from our blind date. She'd kept it all this time. I almost threw this away. I'm glad you didn't. She smiled. So am I. I reached into my pocket. There was a tiny velvet box. Not because I'd planned some grand speech, because life had already written one. I know someone else will always be part of your story. She nodded quietly. And I don't want to erase a single page. Her eyes filled with tears. I just want to help write the next ones. She covered her mouth. I've loved you for a long time. She whispered the words through tears. I was just scared loving again meant betraying the past. I gently took her hand. The past brought you to me. She laughed softly through her tears. I opened the ring box. Would you let me spend the rest of my life making terrible jokes and assembling furniture the wrong way? She laughed harder than I'd ever heard. Then nodded, again and again. Yes. Years later, people still ask us how we met. Sometimes we tell them the truth. Sometimes we simply smile. Because it's hard to explain that the worst joke anyone ever played became the greatest gift of my life. The night I thought I was being humiliated, I met a woman carrying unimaginable grief, an unborn child, and a heart convinced it would never be chosen again. She had whispered, I shouldn't have come. Looking back, I realized she was wrong. If either of us had stayed home that night, we both would have missed the family we never knew we were waiting for.